It started as a little splatter, but it wasn't little for long. Diarrhea sprayed out of her onto the sheets, onto the floor. I blinked as it hit the headboard, then Mike, right in his face. It just splattered across him, his mouth open at the worst possible moment. But let's start from the beginning, right after your subscription to this channel. I stood in the kitchen, the morning light streaming through the windows as I prepared breakfast. The routine was familiar, but lately, everything felt off. Karen, my wife of 8 years, bustled around the house, getting ready for work. "Honey, have you seen my blue blazer?" she called from upstairs. "Check the guest room closet," I replied, my voice steady despite the churning in my gut. "You hung it there after dry cleaning last week." "Oh, right. Thanks, babe." I heard her footsteps, then the creak of the closet door. As I flipped pancakes, my mind wandered to the past few months. Late nights at the office, hushed phone conversations, the growing distance between us. Something wasn't right, and I couldn't shake the feeling. Karen appeared in the kitchen, looking polished in her crisp white shirt and the blue blazer she'd been searching for. She grabbed a pancake, folding it in half and taking a quick bite. "You're the best, Brad," she said, leaning in to kiss my cheek. "I've got to run. Big presentation today." I nodded, forcing a smile. Knock 'em dead. As soon as the front door closed behind her, I let out a long breath. My instincts were screaming at me, but I needed proof. I wasn't about to accuse my wife of anything without solid evidence. For the next few weeks, I watched and waited. I noticed the little things, how she'd step out to take phone calls, the way she'd quickly close her laptop when I entered the room. It was time to dig deeper. One sunny afternoon, while Karen was at a team-building event, I decided to wash her car. As I vacuumed the interior, something caught my eye under the passenger seat. Reaching down, my fingers closed around a small, unfamiliar phone. My heart raced as I held it, debating whether to look. This was it, the moment of truth. With a deep breath, I turned it on. No passcode. My stomach dropped as I opened the messaging app. There it was, in black and white. Hundreds of messages between Karen and someone named Mike. Explicit, graphic, undeniable. I read message after message, each one a knife twisting in my gut. Karen, can't wait to feel your hands on me again. Mike, you drive me crazy. Sunday can't come soon enough. Karen, I'll tell Brad I have a work trip. He never suspects a thing. My vision blurred, rage building inside me, but I didn't lash out. I didn't scream or throw the phone. Instead, a cold, calculating calm washed over me. They thought I was oblivious? Fine, I'd play the fool, right up until the moment I destroyed them both. I carefully replaced the phone exactly where I'd found it and finished cleaning the car. When Karen came home that evening, I greeted her with a smile and a kiss, as if nothing had changed. "How was the team building?" I asked, serving dinner. She launched into a detailed story about trust falls and problem-solving exercises. I nodded and laughed at all the right moments, all the while planning my revenge. Over the next few days, I meticulously tracked their conversations, noting every detail of their planned rendezvous. Karen mentioned a work trip coming up that weekend. Perfect. Friday morning arrived, and Karen bustled around, packing her suitcase. I watched from the doorway of our bedroom, sipping my coffee. "You sure you don't want me to drive you to the airport?" I asked, the picture of a concerned husband. She shook her head, zipping up her bag. "No need, honey. I can just grab an Uber. You relax and enjoy your weekend." I nodded, then snapped my fingers as if I'd just remembered something. "Oh, I almost forgot. I made you some sandwiches for the road. You know how plain food is." Karen's face lit up. "You're so thoughtful, Brad. What would I do without you?" If only she knew. I headed downstairs, Karen following with her suitcase. In the kitchen, I handed her a small cooler bag. "Turkey and avocado, your favorite," I said, smiling. What I didn't mention was the strong, fast-acting laxatives I'd carefully mixed into the mayo. The dose was calculated to hit its peak in about 4 hours, right when she'd be in the throes of passion with Mike. Karen took the bag, giving me a quick peck on the lips. "You're the best. I'll call you when I land, okay?" I nodded, playing my part perfectly. "Have a safe flight. I love you." Love you too, she called over her shoulder as she wheeled her suitcase out the door. As soon as I heard her car pull away, I sprang into action. I tailed Karen's car, keeping a safe distance as we wound our way through the city streets and out towards the outskirts of town. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel, but I forced myself to breathe evenly. This was all part of the plan. She pulled into the parking lot of a nondescript hotel, the kind of place you'd never look twice at. Perfect for a secret rendezvous. I parked a few spots away and watched as Karen got out, grabbing an overnight bag from the trunk. She had a spring in her step and a smile on her face as she headed for the lobby. Enjoy it while you can, I muttered under my breath. Once she'd disappeared inside, I gave it a few minutes before following. At the front desk, I asked for a room, specifically requesting one next to the woman who'd just checked in. I slipped the clerk an extra $50 to make it happen. Room 237, sir, he said, sliding me the key card, right next door to 235. I nodded my thanks and headed up. In the room, I set my bag down and got to work. The small camera was easy to set up, barely visible as I positioned it near the air vent connecting our rooms. I flicked on the tablet I'd brought, and the feed came to life. There they were, Karen and Mike, oblivious to my presence just a wall away. They were laughing, opening a bottle of wine. Karen was perched on the edge of the bed, while Mike poured their drinks. My jaw clenched involuntarily, but I forced myself to relax. This was all going according to plan. In a matter of hours, their little romantic getaway would turn into a nightmare, and I'd be right here to witness every mortifying moment. I settled into the chair by the window, keeping one eye on the tablet and the other on my watch. It was only a matter of time now. All I had to do was wait. Karen and Mike didn't waste time. As soon as they closed the door, her top hit the floor like it was on fire, peeling herself away from me, from everything we had built, piece by piece. Her laugh echoed in the room, while Mike, smug bastard, unbuttoned his shirt with the confidence of someone who had no idea they were being watched from just the other side of the wall. My monitor flashed with their movements. Karen on 4 crawled onto the bed, waving her backyard at Mike, and he went to town, not a care in the world for the consequences creeping toward them. It's funny how easy they seemed. The trust, the ease of it all, completely oblivious to the disaster about to pump through her veins. I tried to feel outrage, but it was hard. The rage I felt weeks ago had dissipated, flattened by the repetition of watching their behavior, each time dialing me deeper into something colder, more calculated. Mike grabbing her and Karen laughing, breathy, as if she hadn't spent the last decade playing housewife with me. I'll give this to her. She could make a person feel special, like they were the only thing worth a damn in the room. Easy smile, hair tumbling over her face, like some scene out of a romance movie. It didn't feel like one now. Mike leaned into her, a grunt leaving his mouth, his voice muffled. Both of them, clowns performing. I checked the time. Any minute now, the chemicals I stirred into that stupid mayo sauce should start their parade through Karen's stomach, turning everything inside to liquid chaos. Patience. Every breath I took was measured. Karen's laugh on the screen, hollow. Karen's stomach gurgled. I could hear it through the wall. This was the moment I'd been waiting for, and I leaned forward, elbows pressed onto the table, eyes glued to the tablet. Her face just kind of froze. Right at that awkward moment when Mike thought he was hitting some kind of peak, she was lost in another world entirely, one she wasn't ready for. You could almost see the realization hit her as the cramps twisted her body. She was trying so damn hard to keep it together, powering through the discomfort like she could just grit her teeth and make it magically disappear. Didn't work. Karen's hips jerked awkwardly. Yeah, but not in the way Mike expected. They locked together for a second, like she wasn't sure what was about to happen. And then, well, then it happened. She didn't even have the chance to pull back. Her body just betrayed her. I chuckled, low and quiet, as I watched it unfold with that grim satisfaction only someone like me could appreciate. It started as a little splatter, but it wasn't little for long. Diarrhea sprayed out of her, onto the sheets, onto the floor. I blinked as it hit the headboard, then Mike, right in his face. He must have been mid-thrust because the guy wasn't quick enough to move. It just splattered across him, his mouth open at the worst possible moment. I saw it hit him square in the lips, and I could almost taste the disgust he must have felt. His eyes bulged like he'd just kissed death itself. He gagged. Yeah, Mike fucking gagged, stumbling back. Karen, still on all fours, was crying now, sobbing between breaths. She couldn't stop it. Her body had gone rogue. The diarrhea kept bursting out of her with violent force, painting the bed in a way that was beyond even my wildest thoughts. The room, their perfect little hotel moment, was gone, engulfed in this hellish chaos. And Mike, poor stupid Mike. He frantically tried to wipe the shit off his face, his hands moving wildly, feet slipping on the ruined sheets. Every time he touched his face, more of her mess smeared into his skin. He was gagging so much I thought he might throw up, but he didn't. Not yet. I leaned back in my chair. This was perfect. The moment Karen doubled over the bed, clutching her stomach with that panicked look flashing across her face, I knew my timing was perfect. Her sudden, explosive descent into absolute humiliation was exactly what I'd planned. Mike, scrambling like an idiot to keep his hands clean while catching whatever dignity he could, only added to the pathetic scene. I let them marinate in that chaos for a good minute or two, just watching like I was at the world's best live theater. As Karen screeched and tried in vain to cover herself with a blanket that honestly did more harm than good, and Mike, miracle of miracles, was still incredibly naked while trying to scrape her filth off his face. Couldn't dream of a better moment if I tried. When I figured they'd fully stewed in their mess long enough, I casually walked over to the door that separated our rooms, pushing it open without knocking. Felt satisfying hearing that faint click in the lock break their fevered panic. Karen looked up sharply, eyes wide with shock, her mascara immediately starting to run down her face. I've seen people cry before, but this was pathetic. Full of fear, yes, but humiliation was the dominant note. Surprised to see me? I asked. There was no answer, not a sound out of Karen's mouth, just this hollow, sobbing gasp as she glanced over at Mike, like maybe he'd have some miracle explanation that could get them out of this. Mike, meanwhile, still mid-wipe with his shirt, just froze, eyes darting between me, the filth on his hand, and the rapidly worsening situation. Go on, I said, waving my phone into the air. The camera was already rolling, the red circle blinking away as it soaked in every second. Don't be shy now. Karen mumbled something, couldn't care less what it was, honestly. Her face went pale, well, paler. Looked like all that tanning she paid for wasn't doing her any good right now. I took a step closer, keeping my voice calm, cold. Hope it was worth it. She started trembling, gave another sob, but her lips stayed clamped shut. She knew damn well what was coming next, even if her brain hadn't quite caught up with her stomach's betrayal yet. Mike, however, finally found his voice through the layer of shit splattered across his face. Dude, we didn't... This isn't what you... I cut him off fast. Drop the act, Mike. For your own sake, keep your mouth shut unless you've got something worth contributing here. You look unsanitary as hell. Not to mention, I've had front row seats to this whole show. I jerked my thumb over my shoulder towards my room. The adjoining door swung lazily in the background, my setup still buzzing away behind it. Karen, groaning like an injured animal, buried her face in her hands and moaned dramatically from somewhere deep within the wreckage in that bed. I smirked at her. This was too precious. They'd fucked themselves, and now they thought there was a way out? With every shaking sob or helpless grunt, they just made it better. I sidestepped right over to the middle of the room, like I belonged there. Well, I did belong there, didn't I? Pulled out my phone, swiping to camera mode. Don't move too much now. I snapped a few photos. The bed was a complete disaster, soaked with shit and sweat and whatever sad excuses these two had. Mike, lying nearby, still grabbing at a tissue that wasn't doing jack for his face. Karen, now sitting up but still holding her midsection like she could somehow magic this moment away. Every click of the shutter added another layer to the depths I dragged them both through before this day was done. What do you think happens to an Instagram career after these get out? I mused, holding my phone slightly higher for a better angle. Pretty hard to upload from shit-covered sheets, huh? Brad, please, Karen whispered through choked sobs. I ignored the plea, flicked through some of the photos, zooming in on Karen's flushed, tear-streaked face, and Mike, well, Mike still hadn't stopped wiping his face like it would somehow get better the longer he tried. Guy's stamina impressed me, even if his problem-solving skills were on the same level as a houseplant. I turned the phone towards Mike. "Smile for me, buddy. Let's get a close-up of that disgusting face of yours." I snapped another picture, making sure he saw the flash. "This one's a real gem." "Man, what the hell's wrong with you?" Mike had finally gotten his mouth to move again. Angry now. Not quite smart, but angry. "This wasn't... How could... Fuck." "Easy there, Mike. You got more things to worry about than me right now." I pointed the phone right at the shit on his hands, then at the shit streaks all over the bed. Like, cleaning up whatever the hell that is. He sighed, looking down at himself, knowing full well there was no coming back from this. Some fights, you just lose. But Karen? Karen wasn't done digging her grave. She leaned forward, half begging, half pleading. "Brad, stop this. Don't. We can fix the..." I barked out a laugh before she could finish. "Fix?" I repeated, still grinning, giving her another slow look over. "Like you're fixing that right there?" I gestured to the bed again, eyes narrowing in amusement. That made her shut up quick, finally. She curled in on herself again, full-blown sobbing now. I angled the phone so I filled the final frames with every bit of filth, the destroyed linens beneath Karen, the ruined mattress, Mike standing pathetically on the side, trying to claw anything clean. I locked eyes back on her, the weight behind my words pressing down like heavy fog, filling the room. This is the fix." I left the hotel like a man with a clear mission. No hesitation, no turning back. I sat in my car, the leather seat still warm from the engine run, and opened my phone. The photos, the videos, all perfectly framed, capturing every filthy, humiliating detail. Karen's face, Mike gagging in the background. It was grotesque. Good. I scrolled through her contact list. First, her parents. Old school types. That's gonna hurt. I dropped the files into a new message and hit send without a second thought. Next up, her group of friends. The same ones who always said how lucky we were as a couple. They were all in one handy group chat. The girls. How quaint. I attached the evidence, typing out a quick message. Guess who got caught? Not sorry. Oh, and I couldn't forget work. If anything, they'd appreciate the irony. So efficient, so well-deserved. Karen had always prided herself on being professional. I laughed under my breath as the files zipped off. Imagine her walking into that startup tomorrow morning. Or, well, if she'd even managed to show her face at all now. One by one, I watched the little check marks appear, messages delivered, then read. My phone vibrated over and over, text after text, lighting it up. The panic would be setting in now. Karen's parents, I bet, scrambling to call her, ask her what the hell was happening. Her friends, probably gasping, passing their phones around, dissecting every frame. Mike wouldn't escape this either. Tech startups love drama, right? Let's see him pitch his next big idea when everyone's seen him naked in a swamp of shit. My grin curled tight as I sat back in the driver's seat, fishing my keys out of my pocket. Karen's phone would be blowing up too by now. Hell, I hadn't even gotten halfway out of the parking lot when the first calls started pouring in. Serves her right. You think you understand betrayal until you've felt its weight, until you've seen every little piece of your life crumble. Now she'd know. She'd feel every bit of it. I glanced back at the hotel one last time before pulling onto the road, merging with the evening's traffic. My work here was done. 3 weeks later, I found myself sitting in a courtroom across from Karen. She had that same self-important look on her face, like she still thought she could win something out of this. Her lawyer paced in front of the jury, talking too loudly, droning on about public humiliation and irreparable harm, like it wasn't her own choices that flushed everything down the drain, literally and metaphorically. Karen sat there in a black dress, the kind that screamed professional victim. She kept dabbing her eyes with a tissue, playing up the whole wounded wife routine, as if she hadn't just spent months screwing Mike behind my back. It was almost impressive how she could switch gears so easily. 1 minute, charming and polished Karen at the tech startup. The next, the scorned, tearful wife with a shaky voice, wringing sympathy out of the courtroom like it was part of her marketing pitch. Her lawyer, some overpriced clown, started pointing fingers, literally, right at me. Mr. Garcia's actions were malicious, Your Honor. They go beyond the bounds of private revenge. He distributed explicit material involving my client to countless individuals, including her family, friends, and co-workers, with the express intention to ruin her career and her personal life. This goes far beyond retribution for infidelity. The guy knew how to work an audience, I'll give him that. His voice dripped with fake outrage, like he was preparing to storm out in protest if the judge didn't immediately condemn me to some lifelong punishment. But I didn't flinch. I stared straight ahead, calm as ever. I knew what I had done, and I'd do it 10 times over if it meant watching Karen's perfect little facade come crashing down. The judge sighed, looking annoyed at the whole situation. Mr. Garcia, do you have anything to say in response? I folded my hands in my lap and leaned forward slightly. Your Honor, whatever punishment you see fit, doesn't matter. Yeah, I sent the pictures, sent the videos. I'll take responsibility for that. But let's not pretend Karen's not guilty here, too. She started all this when she stepped out of our marriage, and while I may have handled it in a less conventional way, she's reaping the consequences of her own actions. She can't expect to live a double life and walk away clean. Karen shot me a look that could have killed me where I stood, if looks had that kind of power. Her eyes were red and glassy, but even behind that, there was still this hint of defiance, like she was convinced she had the moral high ground, as if screwing Mike in hotel rooms while calling them work trips wasn't exactly what had brought us here. The judge rubbed his temples, clearly frustrated with the mess we'd thrown into his courtroom. He glanced between her lawyer and me. I'll be frank. Mr. Garcia's actions, while clearly malicious, stem from emotional betrayal. Mrs. Garcia's infidelity undoubtedly plays a role in this case, but Mr. Garcia disseminating those photos was a violation of her privacy. He paused, probably for dramatic effect, then continued. I'm going to rule a fine. You'll pay Mrs. Garcia for breach of privacy, $7,000. Her lawyer looked like someone had run over his dog. Karen blinked, surprised. $4,000? It was like handing me a parking ticket. I barely even reacted. That's the thing they never understand. You don't get into finance without knowing risk calculations. I knew the fine would be peanuts compared to the satisfaction I'd already gotten. $4,000? I was ready to hand over my credit card right there. I watched Karen, searching her face for something. Relief, maybe. She almost looked relieved, like the fine was somehow a win for her, until reality hit, and all that remained was the hollow, empty aftermath. The damage was done. Everyone in her world knew what she'd done now, from her high-rise office to brunch with her stuck-up girlfriends. Let her pay for that. I got up from my chair as the gavel hit the block, one final echo in the room, and walked out without a single word to Karen. She wasn't worth it anymore. I walked out of the courtroom, my head held high. The $7,000 fine was nothing compared to the satisfaction of watching Karen's world crumble. As I pushed through the heavy wooden doors, I caught a glimpse of her face. Hollow, defeated, utterly broken. Good. The next morning, I wasted no time. I marched into my lawyer's office as soon as it opened. Brad, good to see you, Tom greeted me, rising from behind his desk. What can I do for you today? I sat down, my posture rigid with determination. I want to file for divorce. Immediately. Tom's eyebrows shot up, but he quickly composed himself. All right, given the recent events, I assume you have substantial evidence? I nodded, pulling out a USB drive. Everything's here. Photos, texts, videos. It's all admissible, right? Absolutely, Tom confirmed, taking the drive. With this, we can move quickly. Are you sure you want to proceed? More than anything, I replied, my voice cold and steady. The divorce proceedings moved swiftly. In the courtroom, I sat tall and composed, my eyes fixed straight ahead as Tom presented the evidence. I could feel Karen's gaze on me, pleading, desperate, but I refused to meet it. Your Honor, Tom addressed the judge, his voice echoing in the quiet courtroom. The evidence clearly shows Mrs. Thompson's infidelity and deception. Given these circumstances, we ask that Mr. Thompson be awarded the majority of their shared assets. The judge, a stern-faced woman in her 60s, nodded gravely. Mrs. Thompson, do you have anything to say in your defense? I finally allowed myself to look at Karen. She was a mess. Mascara streaked down her face, her usually perfectly styled hair disheveled. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. After a moment, she simply shook her head, her eyes downcast. The judge's disgust was palpable. Very well. In light of the evidence presented, I rule in favor of Mr. Thompson. He is awarded the house, vehicles, and 80% of their shared financial assets. Mrs. Thompson, your behavior is reprehensible. This court is adjourned. The gavel came down with a resounding crack, sealing Karen's fate. As we left the courtroom, I caught a glimpse of her collapsing into her lawyer's arms, sobs racking her body. I felt nothing. In the weeks that followed, I watched from afar as Karen's life disintegrated. Her carefully curated social media presence became a wasteland of unfollowed accounts and angry comments. Mutual friends texted me, expressing their shock and support. Karen's parents, who had always treated me like a son, called to apologize for their daughter's behavior. Brad, we don't know what to say. Karen's mother's voice quavered over the phone. We raised her better than this. We're so sorry. It's not your fault, I replied, my tone neutral. Karen made her choices. As for Mike, he vanished like smoke the moment the scandal hit. Karen's desperate posts, begging him to call her, went unanswered. Karma, as they say, is a bitch. The final nail in the coffin came when Karen lost her job. The tech startup she worked for, ever image-conscious, couldn't weather the storm of negative publicity. They let her go with a terse email about upholding company values. It was about a month after the divorce when the first message from Karen came through. I was in my new apartment, boxes still half unpacked around me, when my phone buzzed. Brad, please, can we talk? I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. Please, I need closure. I need to explain. I read the message, feeling a cold satisfaction settle in my chest. I didn't reply. More messages followed over the next few days, each more desperate than the last. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but please, just let me explain. I've lost everything, Brad. My job, my friends, my family. I have nothing left. Please, I'm begging you. Just talk to me. Each one went unanswered. For me, this chapter was closed. Karen was nothing more than a painful memory, buried beneath the wreckage of her own choices. I sold the house we had shared, unable to stand the memories that lingered in every room. With the proceeds and my share of our assets, I bought a sleek downtown apartment in a new city. As I unpacked my belongings, carefully arranging my life in this new space, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. Hey everyone, if you found this story gripping and want to hear more crazy ones like this, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more jaw-dropping tales every week. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an update. If you have your own wild stories to share or ideas you'd like us to bring to life, drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Thanks for watching.